Fox Odoi has his own right, in his own, and I'm aware he's a polygamist. Honorable Oo, let's listen. Members, let's listen.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues. This bill,
Honorable members,
this
listen
bill,
and understand the bill.
this bill restores hope in Uganda. This bill is a wake-up call that the penal code that we've had for the last 100 years is obsolete. This bill, in effect, has been recognized by the minority report when the mover of the minority report, my uncle, for the record, I risk to be cast, but now that I have had enough number of children, it may not cast me not to have children. But he recognized that section 145 of the Penal Code has, well,
Yes.
section 145 of the Penal Code.
Yes, Samuju.
Madam Speaker, this bill is a moral issue. The suspects of Mabati
Honorable Samuju. Honorable Samuju. Honorable Samuju, please sit. Honorable members, as legislators, let's mean business when we are doing something. The issue of Mabati will also come. Let's first clear this issue. Eh? You cannot equate homosexuality with Mabati.
Thank you. I know
Honorable members.
I know that Honorable Semujo is missing me, and he wanted me to say something about Mabati, but as you've rightly guided, that will also come and have its own way. Let me talk about what will affect my children and my great-grandchildren. Mabati can be here today, and tomorrow the storm will break it down. But the issue of morality that your honorable members will all know is a matter that guides our society. The penal code that we have came in 1923, so it's about 100 years old. So, as a student, a former student, and now a scholar nearly on matters of jurisprudence, on sociological theory of law, that law grows with society. I can tell you that what was not then, it can now be. And what is not now, it will one time be. So, honorable members, we need to guide ourselves on this without sentiments, without emotions, and look at the penal code as it is. Is it clearly protecting the values that our forefathers put in 1923? If the answer is the negative, laws can be amended. In fact, the minority report is silent on whether this law is not necessary per se. They are only saying that it already exists. But when a law exists and it's not effective, the minority also gave the statistics of number of cases, and you see that the number were there very minimum. This is a good case from the minority report to make a legislation that will work for all. And I believe that this bill is in the right direction. without any other consideration, if we are looking into the future, we should be able to support this bill. And I stand here to support the bill with the view that laws are made for us. The ones that the minority is looking for, they should give Uganda another 100 years. Maybe it will be acceptable. And I'm using the word maybe. And I'm using the word maybe because I know what I'm saying. Because the law grows with society. If by that time the majority will say this is what they want, it should go. But now, what we are saying is that let's go with what will guide our society and regulate our conduct. What is in the penal code is not sufficient. That is why there is a need for us to have this legislation.
Thank you.
And I don't only stand here as a minister, I stand here as a member of parliament from West Budama Central, who has 4 lovely sons and 2 beautiful daughters.
Oduru.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I'm debating in favor of this legislation. And Madam Speaker, I would like to point out a few areas that have been raised. First, we have to look at our constitution.
Don't go, we are going to vote. Yes.
Madam Speaker, our constitution is very clear because one of the arguments that have been proposed here is that this process is unconstitutional. If you read the constitution entirely and you read our national objectives and direct state policy, it is very clear: under 19, protection of the family; under 24, cultural objectives. And it says we should promote and preserve those cultural values and practices which enhance the dignity and well-being of Ugandans. So the argument being brought here that this process is unconstitutional cannot hold, because the Constitution itself, as pointed by the report of the committee under Article 31, 1 and 2, the general principle has been outlined: a man and a woman. So if you interpret it widely, it means that it excludes any other form of marriage that comes. Secondly, Madam Speaker, our customs, and we have to understand that as legislators, our customs, our spirituality, and our traditions informs how we legislate. When a Western custom comes to this country and it is conflicting with ours is superior. So the African culture, the Ugandan culture is superior to any other customs that comes from out. So when we are legislating, I want us to legislate with that in mind, that we are here to promote our own culture. We have gone to some other countries. We also respect what they do there, but they cannot come here. On the issue of the penal code, it has been addressed, Madam Speaker, very well. When we were faced with the crime of anti-money laundering, we came and enacted the anti-money laundering law. When we were faced with the issue of corruption, and it has been enumerated, we did that. I want us to understand that the penal code provides for those penalties in the context of people who are already in marriage. That's why the unnatural offenses came in the context of a man and a woman who are already within the family settings, should they try anything else. What we are dealing with right now is different. It's not a crime, not an offense under the people who are married. So, Madam Speaker, I would like to encourage members of parliament. We have legislated against thieves. We have legislated against murderers. We have legislated against all sorts of people. We should not fear, because this is our country and we have to protect our territorial integrity. Lastly, on the question of human rights that I want to answer, there are principles that guide human rights. One of them is that is universal. So if you are arguing that homosexuality is universal, why are you getting objections from Ugandans? Anything which is universal, like the right to eat, nobody will complain.
Honorable Fox, I hope you're listening.
Nobody will complain on rights that are truly universal, and these rights applies to everybody else. When you raise an issue of a human right and it is contested, it means it's not universal. It says one of the principles is about naturality of the right. What they are doing is unnatural. So you cannot even fit within the principle already decided at international level. The other one is about the inalienability. The inalienability means you are God granted you and it cannot be taken away. Now, when you look at this, there is a word they use, sexual orientation. If you orient somebody, it ceases to be natural. If you orient somebody, it ceases to be natural. So this is the language that they use. And Madam Speaker, lastly, the non-discrimination principle. The non-discrimination principle that has been floated. Non-discrimination regards how you treat a human being when there is a violation. It does not prohibit their action. If you behave and you act against the law, and the law is what we are going to put here, then that cannot be a human right. So I stand to debate, and I invite members that let us support this. We are going to protect ourselves, our children, and generations to come. I beg to...
Thank you, Honorable Bahati. The original
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, members of the 11th Parliament, for moving this motion and supporting the bill. And I'm sure that the people of Uganda must be proud of you today. And even our Creator God is happy of what is happening in this time. Madam Speaker, if anybody had any doubt how deep this problem is in our country, the presence of Honorable Fox Odoi is a confirmation that this problem is huge. That you can have a member of parliament stand on the floor of Parliament of Uganda to say that it's okay for a man to marry a man, that is fine for our boys to marry boys. That's a confirmation that this problem is huge, and therefore we must resolve it. Madam Speaker, the minority report, which has been now put on our books of Parliament, says that the Penal Code Act 145 section is sufficient. The minority is wrong. It's not sufficient. There is nowhere you find that in the Penal Code we are prohibiting promotion of homosexuality. We are not promoting in the Penal Code the recruitment of our children. We are not stopping same-sex in the Penal Code Act. And at the same time, it talks about the order of nature. 100 years ago, it was the order of nature for a man to marry a woman. Today we have people in the world who say that it's their nature for a man to marry a man. And it's that nature that we are now legislating about. So it is not right that the Penal Code Act is sufficient for our laws, and therefore that argument as honorable as man who has now become the Joshua. In 2009, when I moved this bill, we struggled with it for 5 years. We brought on this floor of the House. Even the chairperson of the Committee of Legal and Parliamentary Affairs disappeared that day. I'm very grateful that Robina is here to read the bill. After the bill, they went to court. And it was because Honorable Speaker, we were under a lot of pressure, and on that day I remember we agreed with the Speaker to have a strategy of not put the bill on the order paper because of the pressure to call it during the debate. And that's the reason why we could not raise quorum. They defeated us that time in court. This time, you are not going to defeat us. We are defeating you in the House, we shall defeat you in court, and we shall defeat you in heaven. I support the bill to protect the future of our children. Honorable colleagues, this is about the sovereignty of our nation. Nobody should blackmail us. Nobody should intimidate us. And I'm glad that we are solidly in this front line today to defend our country. I support the bill with all my name. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, when you read Joshua 1:9, it says, be courageous. The good Lord will always be with you. Abe?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Today, the Parliament of Uganda will go on record for having saved the image of this country, for having saved the heritage, the ethical values and the moral values of this country. Right Honorable Speaker, it is a pain when you watch videos of how our children are being molested in schools today. Right Honorable Speaker, there are people in this country today who are being given money to advocate for this. Right Honorable Speaker, as members of this August House, we would like to stand firm and say that we will not allow this vice to penetrate our community. Right Honorable Speaker, the parliament that we are in today is a parliament which is a people-centered parliament. It's a parliament that has stood firm to protect our ethical values, our cultures, our morals, and we will do just that. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I would like to implore you that hook or crook, no one should fear, because if other talks in the corridors and people who blackmail this country talk about funding being withdrawn, talk about ABCD, Uganda is standing on a motion. Uganda is standing on a slogan of a God-fearing country. Right Honorable Speaker, I stand firm to support this motion and I will vote yes.
Thank you, Honorable Chwero Anywa. I'm coming. Reduce 2 minutes so that a number of people speak.
Right Honorable Speaker, I stand to support the bill. Honorable colleagues, homosexuality is a threat to the human survival, to the human race. And what we are discussing is the preservation of the human race. There are consequences, but the consequences which are negative will be temporal. Some people think because we are poor, we can be held at ransom. Some people who are very vulnerable have surrendered. The minority report, as you heard, belongs to people who have surrendered the future of the children, surrendered the country, and surrendered everything. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, Master Speaker, I can tell you for sure, I have gone to some hospitals and I have seen children with ripped anuses. Children with ripped anuses. I have talked to the doctors and asked the doctors what happened. These children were molested by homosexuals. And for anybody who is reasonable to stand here and say that this thing is okay, it's a human right to destroy people's anuses, that person is evil, hell belongs to that person. That person is evil, hell belongs to that person, and I can tell you, we will win this race. We will win the race. Those who believe in it in their countries, have it there. In our country, we will have our morals. We will protect our children. And we are making this law. We are making this law for ourselves. We are making this law for our children. We are making this law for the children of our children. This country will stand firm. And once it passed, I can tell you, Madam Speaker, we are going to reinforce the law enforcement officers to make sure that homosexuals have no space in Uganda. You will have no space in Uganda. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Father Nen. Father Nen.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I stand here to support the bill. Right Honorable Speaker, when I look at you and the honorable ladies in this house, there is no reason for a man to run after a man for sex. Right Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honor.
Right Honorable Speaker.
Order.
Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members. Honorable members.
Right Honorable Speaker. There is nothing so sweet and so good for a man more than a woman. And for that reason, there should be no reason for a man to run after a man. Right Honorable Speaker, I implore
Honorable
homosexuals.
members. Honorable members. Can you give Father time to speak?
Thank you. Thank you. Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker. The essence of humanity is preservation of life. And this can only be guaranteed through the procreation. Homosexuality has no essence. It is just a mere romantic and sexual attraction towards a person of the same sex. Right Honorable Speaker, it should be put on record that Honorable Fox Odoi does not have his children here in this country. All his family are in UK, and that's why he's supporting this bill. That's why he's against this bill. And I want to conclude by saying, in the book of Genesis, during the floods, during the Noah's time, it is recorded that all the creatures went into the ark, into the Noah's ark, in pairs. And there was no record that homosexuals also entered into the act of Noah. And for that reason, I implore that honorable colleagues, we vote yes, we protect our integrity, we protect our sovereignty as a nation, we protect our family values, we protect our children.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to guide you. When you're debating, don't attack the personality of a fox. Let's look at Tinker. I am coming. You're all going to speak.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank you for your guidance that this bill is not about...
Honorable members, please. There is one house.
This bill is not about Honorable Fox Odoi. Honorable Fox Odoi is only attempting to be consistent with what he stood for in the Constitutional Court. I will persuade him as a father and a husband of two beautiful ladies to abandon what he stood for by then and know that the position of Ugandans has changed. And it is that all Ugandans are against homosexuality. Right Honorable Speaker, the major argument that persuaded the Constitutional Court to nullify the work that we had done by then was the issue of quorum. This has been cured. I am sure and certain that all the arguments of the for homosexuality, they will fall flat even when they go to court. Right Honorable Speaker, they based themselves on Article 27, right to privacy. Right Honorable Speaker, I submit that Article 44 of the Constitution, that right is derogable. You cannot have that argument on issues that are seriously affecting and torturing our children. You heard the submission of the Honorable Minister from Soroti, the former Arrow boy. Homosexuality, where they are practicing it in schools, is actually torturing, rapturing. Rapture is an act of torture. It is against the constitution of this land. Right Honorable Speaker, they will submit that they are arguing under the protection of minority groups. They will argue that they want affirmative action. Right Honorable Speaker, Professor Mbiti, in his book, African Traditions and Institutions, he says we should only promote African traditions that add value to our culture. In this matter, that is so foreign, I don't find anything that we are promoting in abiding, in being persuaded by our honorable colleague.
Thank you.
I want to submit and hold the view that I will support and vote for this bill.
Thank you, Nakasongola. Members, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is a serious matter whereby all Christians in Uganda and Muslims and all God believers, all believers in this country, we have to take serious interest in it. Madam Speaker, I want to draw attention to this Parliament that we go to the book, the Bible, and we go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 20, verse 13, and allow me to read. Madam Speaker, it says, if a man practices homosexuality, having sex with another man...
Honorable members, please don't go. We have a very important vote to cast.
Madam Speaker, allow me to read again. If a man practices homosexuality, having sex with another man, as with a woman, both men have committed a detestable act. They must both be put to death for the guilt of a capital offense. That's the Bible quoting. Madam Speaker, I want to quote again. If you go to the book of Jude, chapter 7, it talks about the immorality of Sodom and Gomorrah. When those cities were practicing homosexuality, God took a decision to destroy all of those cities. Madam Speaker, the punishment which God put there was death. Not even 10 years, not even life imprisonment, it's only death. This Parliament should take a decision that those people who will be caught practicing homosexuality be killed. I am the Vice Chairperson of the Seventh-day Adventist Parliamentary Association, and I am standing on behalf of the SDA Church in this Parliament. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Anyakun, Asamo, Ogwang.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honorable. Right Honorable Speaker. Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to support the bill, and I'm here to stand with the members of Parliament of the 11th Parliament who are making a statement for generations. Members, the colleague who has just spoken talked about the verse in Leviticus chapter 20. It says someone has to be killed. Right Honorable Speaker, where I come from, when you speak about this kind of immorality, you will just be stoned to death.
Honorable, just a minute, there's a motion here, Honorable Mr. What is the motion about?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, looking at the mood in the House, and Madam Speaker, looking at the debate and the importance of this bill, Madam Speaker, I move that is the time that we go to the committee stage, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, there is a motion. And I am asking, is the motion seconded? Can you make a justification for your motion? Make a justification for your motion.
Thank you.
Honorable members, listen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when you look at this bill, right from the committee, the majority of the committee members supported this bill. And so far, only 2 members from the committee had divergent views, Madam Speaker. And even before the floor of Parliament, where the members are debating, Madam Speaker, most of the members are in support. Madam Speaker, also, these vices are on the increase. And Madam Speaker is targeting our children. And not only that, Madam Speaker, above all, our culture. Above all, Madam Speaker, the majority of Ugandans out there, they want this bill to be passed. So, Madam Speaker, the motion that I've moved is that we move to the committee stage so that we handle the bill clause by clause.
Honorable members, the motion is that we go to committee stage. And I want to see those who are in favor. The whole House is in favor. I now put a question. Honorable members, I now put a question that the Anti-Homosexuality Bill 2023 be read for the second time. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
The Anti-Homosexuality Bill 2023, Bills Committee stage.
Madam Speaker.
Clause 1.
Honorable Chair, honorable members, honorable members, can I have order in the House? Clause 1.
Clause 1.
Can we stand over clause 1 because it's interpretation, then we come back to it. Yes,
Madam Chair, what you have raised, because clause 1 is about interpretation,
Yes.
And it is always the last because as we go in front, we could get another word which we want to interpret.
Clause 2.
Chair,
With clause 2.
clause 2.
Clause 2, the offense of homosexuality. For clause 2, they substituted the following. 2, offense of homosexuality. 1, a person commits the offense of homosexuality if the person performs a sexual act on another person of the same gender or allows a person of the same gender to perform a sexual act on him or her. 2, a person who commits the offense of homosexuality is liable on conviction to imprisonment for life. 3, a person who attempts to perform a sexual act in circumstances referred to in subsection 1 commits an offense and is liable on conviction to imprisonment.
Honorable members, listen.
To imprisonment for a period not exceeding 7 years. Or, notwithstanding subsection 2, a person charged with an offense under this section may, in mitigation of sentence, submit evidence from a medical practitioner appointed by the Medical and Dental Practitioners Council, proving that the accused person was
Switch on the mic.
Let me repeat 4. Notwithstanding subsection 2, a person charged with an offense under this section may, in mitigation of sentence, submit evidence from a medical practitioner appointed by the Medical and Dental Practitioners Council, proving that the accused person was, at the time of the commission of the offense, suffering genetic abnormalities which may have contributed to the acts that constitute the offense of homosexuality. 5. For purposes of subsection 3, a person shall be deemed to attempt to commit an offense when the person, intending to commit an offense, begins to put his or her intention into execution by means adapted to its fulfillment and manifests his or her intention by some overt act, but does not fulfill his or her intention to such an extent as to commit the offense. Justification: to remove a conflict between the definition of the words homosexuality and sexual act in clause 1 and the prescription of the offense of homosexuality in clause 2 of the bill, since they each prescribed different elements, making the offense of homosexuality vague, thereby contravening the principle of legality prescribed in Article 28(12) of the Constitution. To limit the offense of homosexuality to the penetration, however slight, of a person's anus by another person's sexual organ, of a person's anus, sexual organ, or mouth by a sexual organ of another person of the same gender, or of a person's anus, sexual organ, or mouth by an object or sex contraption by a person of the same gender. As guided by court in the case of Kasha Jacqueline, David Katoch Sule, and Onzema.
Honorable members, please listen to the chair.
And Onzema Patience versus Rolling Stone Limited and Gilles Mohammed, High Court Miscellaneous Cause number 163 of 2010, to limit the offense of homosexuality to the actual performance of a sexual act between persons, as required in Section 37 of the Interpretation Act, to prescribe the maximum penalty that can be imposed by court in order to recognize and maintain court discretion in sentencing, to expand the provision to include an attempt to commit the offense of homosexuality, to move provisions relating to sexual orientation to clause 14 on promotion of the offense of homosexuality, to increase the penalty for the offense in the case of homosexuality from 10 years as proposed in the bill to 20 years, and for the attempts from 2 years to 7 years in tandem with sentences imposed for similar sexual offenses. The proposal to allow a person charged with an offense under the section to mitigate the sentence by adducing evidence of genetic disorders is to recognize evidence from Uganda Medical Association
which explained that a small number of people may have homosexual tendencies because of abnormalities in their genes or biological disorders. To delete provisions that criminalize a person who has not committed an offense of homosexuality.
Thank you, Chair. Yes.
Madam Chair, I want to thank the chair, but why Madam, I want the chairperson to assist me to understand. Why did you remove the people of the same sex and brought gender? Because the moment you bring gender, man will come and say, I'm transgender and whatever. So to avoid this, it should be of the same what? Sex. And the second one, so Madam Chair.
Chair, are you hearing what?
Yes. Madam Chair, the second item, offenses. Yes, first of all, we're moving in line with section 145 of the Penal Code, where anybody who acts unnaturally must have life what? Imprisonment. Madam, life, okay, whatever. Madam Chair, the moment we allow a space in that law, people will practice it. One, you are saying if you are about to attempt, how do you measure about to attempt? If you are saying you are caught, you are about to practice it, how do you know it? Anybody caught with a stolen item is a thief. Anybody who aids somebody to steal is a thief. And the charges of a thief will also apply to the one who aids or who is aiding. So, Madam Chair, I want to implore the chair to agree that the penalties should be the same. For those who are trying to procure, for those who are about to practice, so that they all go for life imprisonment. This will deter this act we are fighting.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I hear from Attorney General?
Thank you very much.
Need to be guided, Right Honourable Speaker, because the penalties, because when we read the penal code, if we are to quote 145, what Honourable Fox was talking about, the penalty is death. But also when we refer to the Bible, Leviticus 20:13, what my colleague there quoted, the Bible talks about death. So how do we now degrade the sentence? We yet in the penal code it talks about death, the Bible is talking about death, but we are now degrading it to years or to life imprisonment. I need to be helped. How do we harmonize?
Yes, there is an amendment on the sex instead of gender. That one, take note. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Honourable members, listen.
In response to Honourable Nadala Mafabi, the punishment for an attempt cannot be the same as the punishment for the act itself. That's why the proviso is that the attempt is 7 years and the act is life. That's how it is even in the penal code, where they provide for unnatural offences.
Code is obsolete. We are saying the penal code is obsolete. No.
Madam Chair, in criminal law, even if we are saying that the penal code needs to be beefed up, an attempt is very different from the actual act.
Honourable members.
Madam Speaker, in criminal law generally, an attempt is very different from the actual act, because I'm a lawyer who worked in Attorney General's for 25 and a half years, so I know what I'm talking about. Now, no, I'm not quarreling. An attempt is very different. Just look at it practically. Somebody, even if it's, say, rape, somebody comes into the room and tries to get hold of you and you fight him. So he hasn't penetrated you. Now, for someone who actually ends up chewing you, I mean, sorry.
Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. The person who does the attempt is also a danger to society. And if we are saying we want a deterrent measure, we should give a sanction that is prohibitive. 7 years, I will go for 7 years and come out. Honorable Sumani.
Of consistency and clarity, and the need to address the principle of legality, which was disturbing my brother, the homosexualist. Chair, let me clarify this. In the committee, we learned 2 terms. There's a difference between a homosexual and a homosexualist. Honorable Fox is a homosexualist. A homosexualist is the one who protects, promotes, defends. And we agreed that he is not offended to call him a homosexualist. So his concern was the principle of legality. And when you look at the proposal by the committee, it addresses that principle. And indeed,
Honorable Chair, you have always advised us to speak with evidence. The Honorable Asumani Basalirwa has described the Honorable Fox Odoi as a homosexualist and not a homosexual. Does he have evidence that he's not? Is he in order, therefore?
Information.
Honorable Segona, facts speak for themselves. Yes, can you proceed? By the way, we have so many clauses, we have to move.
So, Chair, I want to invite the August House to be persuaded by the amendments proposed by the committee, because they are consistent and they clarify matters of the law in relation to sexual offenses. And it is not true, Chair, that the penal code proposes death. No, the penal code proposes life imprisonment. And we want to be consistent. However,
what about the aspect of sex vis-a-vis gender?
Yes, the aspect of sex vis-a-vis gender. Chair, we have not looked at clause 1, but clause 1 has interpreted...
Sex means gender.
Clause 1 has interpreted what gender means. Maybe when we get there, the concerns of the members will be addressed. But in terms of, in fact, gender, as explained by the committee, is broader than even the sex we are talking about. So the committee, maybe the chair, because you guided that we first move away from the interpretation clause. If we went there, people would be able to understand the definition of gender. It carries the concerns. It is not the dictionary definition of gender that people understand.
Honorable Katuntu.
Information.
Thank you very much, person. Colleagues, I would like to implore upon you to listen to the committee. We tried as much as possible not to offend provisions of the Constitution. As much as possible. Because the enemies of this bill, we know where they are going after here. And that has nothing to do with the Honorable Fox. But the enemies of the bill, The promoters of homosexuality, we know their path. And their path is a court of law. So we did our best, Madam Chairperson.
Order.
Honorable members, you have heard what the committee has said. The private member is in agreement with the committee. And in
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, on the issue of sex.
Nothing, please. Colleagues, and please listen. We must, as much as possible, trade within the Constitution, within the law. We have, as you'll see later, we have defined sex, we have defined gender, we have defined sexual orientation, such that there is no gray area at all. And our decision, our opinion was formed by the recent case in Kenya. For those of you who have had time to read it. So, if you have not read the definitions, and it's quite unfortunate, but maybe the chairperson, when you're explaining, we have not reached there, you need to explain to the colleagues that we have already defined all of them. When you go to attempts, including murder, chairperson, in the penal code, there is the case of attempted murder. If you have an attempt, if you're attempting to commit a crime, you can't be criminal at the same level with somebody who has gone ahead and actually committed the crime. So the sentence should differ. What we should be debating, for us we suggested 7 years. For those attempting. If you think we need to raise it, that is okay, we can debate that. But for us, we proposed 7 years.
Madam Chair, before we move to
the sentence, because from what the chair reported, the committee, I think, interfaced with the medical doctors. And the doctors seems to have given a position that there is genetic predisposition, but we are also doctors. Some of us do not agree, and we have looked at the body of evidence. So I want to know from the committee the position which was given, because, Madam Chair, last time...
Are you on the amendment of
yes,
clause
because...
clause 2? Are you on amendment? We are now talking about the years.
Okay, because it runs through what the chair raised. But we can dispose of the issue of the sentence, then you give me a chance to raise my point, because it runs through the process.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I would want to propose an amendment from 7 to 10. Those who attempt from 7 to 10.
Attorney General.
Ten years is okay.
Thank you. The amendment of 10 years for attempted. I put a question that clause 2 be amended as proposed by the committee and amended by the Attorney General with the 10 years on attempted. Those in favor say aye and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 2 as amended.
I put 2 as amended, stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 3.
Clause 3.
Right Honorable. Hello.
Clause 3, aggravated homosexuality. For clause 3, there is...
Right Honorable.
They substituted the following.
Honorable members, listen to the chair.
Clause 3, aggravated homosexuality. For clause 3, there is substituted the following. 3, aggravated homosexuality. 1, a person who commits the offense of homosexuality in any of the circumstances specified in subsection 2 commits the offense of aggravated homosexuality and is liable on conviction to suffer death. 2, The circumstances referred to in subsection 1 are where A, the person against whom the offense is committed is a child. B, the offender is a parent, guardian, or relative of the person against whom the offense is committed. C, the person against whom the offense is committed contracts a terminal illness as a result of the sexual act. D, the offender is a serial offender. E, the offender is a person in authority over the person against whom the offense is committed. F, the person against whom the offense is committed is a person with disability or suffers a disability as a result of the sexual act. G, the person against whom the offense is committed is a person with mental illness or suffers a mental illness as a result of the sexual act. H, the person against whom the offense is committed is of advanced age. I, the offense was committed against a person by means of threats, force, fear of bodily harm, duress, undue influence, through misrepresentation as to the nature of the act, or intimidation of any kind. J, the person against whom the offense is committed was, at the time the offense was committed, unconscious or in an altered state of consciousness due to the influence of medicine, drugs, alcohol, or any other substance that impaired his or her judgment. 3, a person who attempts to perform a sexual act in circumstances referred to in subsection 1 commits an offense and is liable on conviction to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 14 years. 4, a person charged with an offense under this section may, in mitigation of sentence, submit evidence from a medical practitioner appointed by the Medical and Dental Practitioners Council, proving that the accused person was, at the time of the commission of the offense, suffering genetic abnormalities which might have contributed to the acts that constitute the offense of homosexuality. 5, for purposes of subsection 4, a person shall be deemed to attempt to commit an offense when the person intending to commit an offense begins to put his or her intention into execution by means adapted to its fulfillment and manifests his or her intention by some overt act, but does not fulfill his or her intention to such an extent as to commit the offense. Justification: to harmonize the punishment for aggravated homosexuality with the punishment prescribed for similar offenses under the Penal Code. To harmonize the penalty prescribed in this clause with Section 129 of the Penal Code Act relating to defilement. To harmonize the punishment for the offense of homosexuality and aggravated homosexuality. To expand the provision to include other matters that aggravate the offense of homosexuality. To expand the provision to include other categories of infection and incurable diseases that might arise from the sexual act. The proposal to allow a person charged with an offense under the section to mitigate the sentence by adducing evidence of genetic disorders is to recognize evidence from Uganda Medical Association, which explained that a small number of people may have homosexual tendencies because of abnormalities in their genes or biological disorders.
Thank you, Asman. Asman.
Chair, I have no objection to the proposal by the committee.
Attorney General.
I have no objection. I concede.
I put a question that clause 3 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say on the contrary nay.
Information.
The ayes have it.
Clause 3 as amended.
I put a question that clause 3 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 4.
Clause 4. Clause 4. This
Clause
bill,
4.
This bill
Attempt
has been
to commit
harmonized.
homosexuality. Delete clause 4. Justification: the provisions of clause 4 have been inserted in clauses 2 and 3 of the bill.
Madam
Same
Chair,
with you.
thank you very much. I will request that we recommit parts of clause 3 because I disagree with 4. the one that says someone can plead that this is genetic abnormalities. Even thieves will say this is genetic problems. So my request is that after the bill will commit this.
But
want to
I
propose-
thought you're a member of the committee. What happened in the committee?
Madam Chair, at a committee stage, I am not stopped from making a proposal. I am only stopped from debating during the second
We'll
reading.
recommit it. Let's go ahead. 4. Clause 4.
Clause 4, attempt to commit homosexuality. Delete clause 4. Justification. The provisions of clause 4 have been inserted in clauses 2 and 3 of the bill.
Yes, Your Court. Let me first hear from Asuman. Clause 4.
Chair, no objection.
Clause 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I think we should not delete clause number 4, because clause number 4 is talking about even the intention. Because if you have an intention to commit something which is not right,
Intention has been covered in clause 2 and 3. It has been covered.
if it has been covered up there, then
Attorney General.
I submit,
Attorney
I follow it.
General. Attorney General.
I concede to the proposal.
I put a question that clause 4 be deleted as proposed. Those in favor stand the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
New clause.
New clause.
Insertion of new clause immediately after 4. The bill is amended by inserting immediately after clause 4 the following new clause. Punishment for child homosexuality. A child who is convicted of an offense under section 2 or 3 of this act shall, instead of the punishments prescribed under the relevant section, be liable on conviction to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 3 years. Justification: to limit the punishment that can be imposed on a child homosexual to 3 years as required in section 94(1)(g) of the Children Act, Cap 120.
Honorable members, we are talking about a child, not an adult. And we have the Children's Act. Asumani?
No, Chair.
By the way, a child
Yes.
does not go to Luzira, they go to remand homes.
Yes, Chair, maybe just to give more clarification, it is the reason why we needed this bill as a one-stop center. Because you see, you are now looking at the Children's Act, you are now looking at the Penal Code Act. And the justification being given is that where a piece of legislation elsewhere is clear on a matter, like this one, you are not going to deviate from it. So when we are talking about children, in any legislation we make, our first point of reference is the Children's Act. So this is just being consistent with the Children's Act, and the 3 years must be looked at from that context that we are dealing with the children.
Yes.
Madam Chair, my concern here is about the mitigation, because if we allow these very people to go and mix up in the prison, can't we suggest and recommend that
That
we
is
open
in
up?
that is in another clause. You're moving faster than the House. Yes. Enos?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I know what I'm going to suggest is a bit inconsistent with other laws, but I wanted us to redefine a child to be 22 years, because the average age, wait, why don't you listen? The average age, Madam Chair, the average age
Now, as a legislator,
Wait a minute, Madam.
I am surprised you don't know what
I don't
age a kid is.
That's why I put a disclaimer. Why don't you allow me finish my argument? Why don't you allow me finish the argument?
Attorney General.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can we have some order?
Honorable Enos,
For purposes of
you
clarity.
sought to uphold the Constitution. Now you want to rape the Constitution.
Right Honourable Speaker, for purposes of clarity,
Honorable members, listen.
for purposes of clarity, the age of majority is 18 and
18
above.
years.
Now, for us to raise it,
To
a child to 22, would mean that we are amending the Constitution.
Unconstitutional.
And that would mean that this bill we are trying to pass today would tomorrow be declared unconstitutional on the basis of that.
Today you have guided the properly.
Honorable Attorney General, are you in agreement with the amendment?
Yes, Right Honourable Speaker, I agree with you.
A child of 14 years is different from a child of 17 years. So if we could have the punishment differently, that could be better.
A child is a child. Yes? Honorable Guang. Yes?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. The information that is moving around, which is very clear, most of our children who are being lured into homosexuality is all about money. And you know, these children...
Give me the amendment. What is the amendment?
The amendment I'm talking about is the period, if you say only 3 years, these people who are practicing homosexuality may buy off those kind of things to a child. And the child can be attempted to go in for. Therefore, I would think we should increase the number of years.
How is it related to the amendment?
It is about the child who will be involved in homosexuality. They propose should be in prison for 3 years. That's the proposal they have put. Yes. But I'm saying that time, that period of 3 years is not enough because they can't even go further to convince that child to accept anything of that kind. Then within the 3 years will not be enough. We are proposed it should be increased to 10 years.
Madam Chair, the standard of 3 years
Honorable members.
is provided for in other laws. Issues being raised by honorable
members, I want to refer you to the Children's Act.
Yes.
The law is in conformity with the other laws. I put a question that the proposed new clause stands part of the bill. Those in favor say under control and nay. Let's have it.
Clause 5.
You people, we are not moving.
Clause 5, protection, assistance, and payment of compensation to victims of homosexuality. Clause 5 of the bill is amended by A, deleting subclause 1, B, substituting for subclause 2 the following. 2, a person involved in the investigation, prosecution, or trial of offenses under this act shall assist the victim of the offense present his or her views and concerns at the appropriate stages of the criminal proceedings. Justification. Subclause 1 is deleted since it has potential to be abused by victims to commit crimes against accused persons before the acts complained of are investigated by the police and the accused person prosecuted. It will encourage mob justice and it takes away the accused presumption of innocence prescribed in Article 28(3)(a) of the Constitution. For clarity and better drafting.
Asman?
I concur, Right Honourable Chair.
AG?
I concede.
I put it.
It is under this clause, which talks of protection, that I want to re-echo the words of the President when he was discussing homosexuality. He was drawing a line
What
between
amendment are you making?
whether
Give
it's
me
a
the
nurtured
amendment.
activity or it's an activity due to nature. So we want,
Give me the amendment.
yeah, hey. Right, Honorable Speaker, the amendment I'm bringing on board is to take care of those people nurturing children into this activity and to also give
It
them
does
a
not
punishment.
fall under here. Give me the amendment that you want to make.
I'm looking at protection,
What about protection?
protecting the children.
Honorable members, I put a question that clause 5 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 5 as amended.
I put a question that clause 5 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 6.
Clause 6.
For clause 6, consent of a victim of homosexuality. For clause 6, they substituted the following. Consent to sexual act is no defense. The consent of a person to commit a sexual act shall not constitute a defense to a charge under this act. Justification to expand the provision to declare as irrelevant the consent of any person to the performance of a sexual act that constitutes an offense under this act, rather than limiting the provisions to victims of offenses as proposed under the bill.
Husband?
Clearly from the chair, whether when they were considering the issue of consent, they looked at a consent that is gotten at marriage. We have had cases where married couples in church procure consent to hold out on heterosexual relationship. When they enter into that marriage relationship, they turn around and go into homosexual activities, subdue the person, and now you are saying consent. Consent, what consent are you talking about? Is it this consent that was procured at marriage, or which consent are you talking about?
Honorable Chair.
Can I help?
In the circumstances, because the victim will be innocent.
Can I help?
Chair.
Honourable Member, this bill is about same-sex relationship. It's not about heterosexuals.
And it's not about marriage.
And it's not about marriage. And under Article 31, marriage between people of the same sex is prohibited. So the issue of marriage of people of the same sex does not arise because it is unconstitutional.
We are talking about heterosexuals, Madam Chair.
This bill is not about heterosexuals.
Yeah, Honorable Chair.
Honorable AG.
Honorable Chair.
Attorney General. Honorable members. Honorable members.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Give me the amendment.
Yes, Madam Chairperson, the amendment I wanted to make relates to Tinkasimile's concern.
No, that one has been solved. That has been corrected.
Madam Chairperson, it is not. The Tinkasimile's concern was people who go into a marriage as heterosexuals. Thereafter conducting a marriage, they turn into doing homosexuality. When they are in a marriage and they are heterosexuals,
the unnatural acts have been handled in clause 2. Those are natural acts.
Honorable Chair.
Honorable members, I know how much you feel for this,
Honorable Chair,
but we must move. Honorable members,
Madam Chair.
Honorable, there is nothing to be corrected here, Mehdi.
No, I'm talking about consent. Thank you, Madam Chair. Maybe honorable members must arise to the fact that because this may be pleaded as a defense that they were consenting adults, that is why we are clearly legislating that consent shall not be a defense. Yes. That is what they are saying under this act. Therefore, you shall not plead that X and Y consented to perform this act.
I put a question that clause 6 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 6 as amended.
I put a question that clause 6 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say the contrary, nay. The ayes have
Clause
it.
7.
Clause 7. Clause 7.
Clause 7, confidentiality. In clause 7,
honorable members, listen, Esther.
Clause 7, confidentiality. In clause 7, delete subclauses 1 and 2. Justification, clause 7, 1 and 2 are redundant since clause 7, 1 is already a practice of court, while 7, 2 is provided for under Article 28.2 of the Constitution, which allows a court or tribunal to exclude the press or the public from all or any proceedings before it for reasons.
Switch on.
For reasons of morality, public order, or national security, as may be in a free and democratic society.
Asman?
No objection.
Attorney General?
No objection.
I put a question that clause 7 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say and to contrary, nay. The ayes have
Clause
it.
7 as amended.
Madam Chair, clause 7 deals with our children. And, the penalty provided on 7, Madam Chair, is not fair because this is the only way.
What penalty do you recommend?
Madam Chair, they propose 10 years only. In clause 7, they are proposing only 10 years for somebody who recruits our children into homosexuality. So let it be life imprisonment for whoever recruits our children, for whoever gets involved in making sure that our children are involved into this.
Now, Chair, I think for information purposes, that's not what clause 7 is saying.
Honorable Patrick, clause 7 is on confidentiality, and aiding and abetting is on clause 8. So you're legislating ahead. Honorable members, I put a question that clause 7 be amended. As amended, stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
New clause.
New clause. Sarah, sit. You sit.
Insertion of new clauses immediately before clause 8. The bill is amended by inserting before clause 8 the following. Child grooming. A person who A. recruits, transports, transfers, harbors, or receives a child for the purpose of engaging the child in homosexuality or any other conduct prohibited under this act. B. displays, distributes, or supplies to a child any material demonstrating, depicting, or illustrating a sexual act between persons of the same gender or any other conduct that is prohibited under this act. C. shows or avails a child in a picture, video or film showing depicting or illustrating a sexual act between persons of the same gender or any other conduct that is prohibited under this act. Or D, in the presence of a child, performs a sexual act with a person of the same gender or causes another person to engage in a sexual act with a person of the same gender, commits an offense and is liable on conviction to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 10 years. 2, the consent of a child of that child's parent, guardian, person in authority, or any other person with parental responsibility over the child to the acts prescribed in subsection 1 shall not be a defense to a charge under this act. Justification, to prohibit acts that expose children to acts of homosexuality.
Cecilia.
Chair, I have a concern on the punishment of 10 years. We have seen some videos moving around of young children of 4 years, 3 years being inducted or forced into the act of homosexuality. Now, in that situation, Chair, a child is completely disoriented as far as sexuality is concerned. Now, how can you prescribe only 10 years? Such people really, even if we are trying to be merciful, should be life. Because your child is damaged. Your child is damaged for life, disoriented for life. These people need punishment for life. They must in prison for life. Thank you.
Chair.
Attorney General. We have an amendment from Imat Cecilia.
The proposal of the committee is 10 years. Mama Cecilia proposes life. If the argument is about the length of imprisonment, we could find a middle ground and propose 15 to 20.
Attorney General,
Yes.
Attorney General, Attorney General, imagine it is your own child. Imagine it is your own child, Attorney General.
Yes, amendment.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair. Madam Chair,
Can you look?
where somebody has got your child, imagine the child is 2 years, is 3 years. Even life imprisonment is not adequate because this person is going to go into the prisons and continue living his life, maybe even continuing with homosexuality in the prisons. These people should be castrated. Yes. The amendment I'm proposing is that the person should be castrated, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Elijah.
Yeah.
Elijah.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Elijah.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair. I want to
Give
concur.
me the ears.
Yes. I want to concur with Madam Cecilia Ogwal because the damage here caused is for life. So I think the basis we said the sentence to life imprisonment because the damage to this child is for life. So let the sentence also be for life. Thank you.
Honorable members, you're saying the 10 years are few. How many years?
Life.
Madam Chair, I would urge my colleagues generally, one, because I've heard these sentiments coming out, supposing it is your child. As legislators, we do not want to
Let's
go
not put personal feelings
on
in
record because we would be losing objectivity. That's point number one. Number two, in our legislation, let's keep remembering the two principles of legality and proportionality. Because whatever we are saying here, you see, it is a point of law. It is a point of law. And I signed this report. I am conscious I have a duty to protect it. Legality, proportionality, and emotions out of this. Thank
So
you.
how many years are you in agreement with the
Yes,
committee?
I'm in agreement.
Thank you, Chair.
Dr. Bedi.
Thank you, Right Honorable.
Dr. Bedi.
Thank you, Right
Madam Chair.
Honorable Chair. Right Honorable Chair. Right. Right Honorable Chair, I'm rehabilitating a child who was recruited in primary 7. I want us to amend that the offense comes from 10 to 20 years. To 20 years. Yes, I understand. This is
different on this law. That's different.
Right, Honorable Chair. It is important that we find...
Can we hear
Madam
from
Chair.
the Attorney General?
Madam Chair,
Can we hear from Attorney General?
Colleagues, in light of the proportionality that Honorable Segona has urged, I would want us to agree that 20 years would suffice.
Can I have Lob?
Thank you, Right Honorable Chair. The disservice the Honorable Land Attorney General and my other land friends have done to this House is not to explain under sentencing guidelines that actual life can be 3 years. And I'm telling you what it actually is. That actually when you prescribe 15 to 20 is more appropriate than generally saying life. The land attorney can explain actually what it means. So don't simply say life. Legally, life can mean actually 5 years, depending on how the presiding officer construes the matter being considered. So please, you should have been helpful to the House to say life is not actually life. The chair can also guide, right, Honourable Speaker. I thought that should be well understood.
Chair.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable Members. Honourable Members, prescription of offences must be based on time or the penalty ultimately. Different countries have defined life imprisonment differently, and this is from practice. Wherefore, if you want to say 30 years, say it. If you want to say 40 years, say it. Otherwise, the mere saying that the punishment should be imprisonment for life does not exactly imply that the judicial officer shall describe life in case of the person to mean all time behind bars. And that is through practice and what is there. Therefore, it's my humble view, Right Honourable Speaker, that we call upon the proposer to clearly state whether it is 25 or 30 or 10 or 20, and we move.
Order, Right Honourable Speaker. Order.
Segona.
Right Honourable Speaker, Right Honourable Chair, Madam Chair, I think that one has been sorted by
How
the
many?
latest jurisprudence.
Yes.
In the case of Tigo, the Supreme Court has stated that when
Honourable members, listen.
when the legislation says life imprisonment, they mean your natural life.
Your natural life.
Your entire life.
Yes.
So I think that one ceases to be contentious.
Yes.
I am in agreement with the committee. I signed the report.
Can I have Fox? Where is Fox? Honourable Fox.
Right Honourable Chair.
Honourable members. Honourable Fox.
Right Honourable Chair. Just permit me 2 minutes. Number one, when it comes to the protection of children, we all should speak with one voice. The protection of minors, we all must speak with one voice. And that position applies to heterosexual sex as it applies to homosexual sex. Children have no space in the sex world. And I will encourage all of you to protect our children.
How many years?
That said, Right Honorable Chair, I am a member of the committee, and the 10 years is sufficient.
Chair. Right Honorable Speaker.
Madam Speaker, the problem we are dealing with, if members can listen, you see, Madam Chair, A speaks about recruiting children, transporting them, blah, blah, for purposes of engaging them. In English, it means etc. Madam Chair, while B and C and D are about either someone committing homosexuality in the presence of a child or distributes material. These offenses cannot attract the same sentence. Someone trafficking a child for homosexuality and someone showing a film. I therefore want to propose, Madam Speaker, that in case of A, life imprisonment, in case of B, C, and D, 20 years.
Honorable members, I put a question that the proposed new clause stands part of the bill with amendment of 20 years as proposed by Honorable Semuju and Attorney General. Those in favor say on the contrary, aye? The ayes have it.
Clause 8.
Honorable members, so why are you making noise? If you want to make an amendment, your private members, you will make an amendment. This is the first law you're making. And you can make amendment anytime you want. Let's be orderly and honorable enough.
Clause 8.
Thank you so much, Chair. Honorable Semuju's amendment had two effects, and your bundling, I don't know whether it has separated part of the clause, because
it did, as proposed by Honorable Semuju. He mentioned it.
Then,
so I am going by what he said.
Then, Chair, I prefer recommit on a part of separating it.
No, it is already separated. I took it as it was. It is separated. Clause 8.
No, Chair.
Procedure, Chair.
Procedure, Madam. Chair, I differ from...
Honorable Kavanda, it is separated. What we are going to do is on the what? When they are preparing the bill, they will correct that.
Chair, with due respect, I have understood. Honorable Semuju has moved that exhibiting
Honorable
videos...
Semuju separated the A, B, C, D.
Yes, and he has suggested two different penalties. One, 10 years, and another 20 years. Yes, that's what he moved.
No. Life.
Procedure, Madam Chair.
Honorable members, clause 8.
Procedure.
Clause 8.
Clause 8.
Right, Honorable, we've solved our
Aiding and
children.
abetting homosexuality. Delete clause 8. Justification. The provision is redundant since it is provided for under section 19 of the Penal Code Act, and the conduct intended to be cured can be dealt
Honorable
with
members,
under clause 14 on promotion. The provision uses words such as acts of homosexuality which are ambiguous since they are not defined, thereby making the provision contrary to the principle of legality prescribed in Article 28:12 of the Constitution.
Nathan?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'm not trying to differ too much from what the chair is raising, but I wanted to ask a question. I don't know if Honorable Bart is around.
Honorable Bart is here.
When we passed this law in the 9th Parliament, there are colleagues of ours who went to court. They went to court. Anyway, it is Fox and Otada. And Madam Speaker, Madam Chair, having finished even the court, when we came here to pay tribute to the late Archbishop of Uganda, Ruhum, one of the seconders was a Fox, who was you said homosexuality, homosexual.
Procedure. Procedure, Honorable Chair.
What's the procedure? When I'm here. So, Madam Chair, the issue I'm raising, are the ones who aid and abetting homosexuality. Now, what about those who go to court? No, we don't want to delete it. That's why I want to bring
Honorable Nathan, you're taking our time.
Madam Chair, I want us to bring those who go to court, yes.
Asuman? Asuman? Asuman?
No, Chair, I have no objection to the proposal by the committee.
Attorney General?
Just some clarification, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, because
Madam Chair, I have no objection.
I put a question that clause 8 be deleted as proposed. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. Let's have it.
Clause 9.
Clause 9.
Clause 9, conspiracy to engage in homosexuality. Delete clause 9, justification. The mischief intended to be cured by the clause can be dealt with under clause 14.
Atsman? Conspiracy?
Chair, I concede to the proposal.
AG?
I concede.
I put a question that clause 9 be deleted as proposed. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. Let's have it.
Clause 10.
Clause 10, procuring homosexuality by threat. Delete clause 10, justification. Consequential amendment arising from the amendment of clause 3 of the bill relating to the offense of aggravated homosexuality, wherein the sub-clauses 1 and 2 of clause 10 were inserted in clause 3. Clause 10 conflicts with section 123 relating to the offense of rape and 129 relating to defilement by prescribing lesser sentences than those prescribed under the above provisions, affecting the provisions of the above acts. To remove a redundant subclause 10.2, which proposes to recognize a practice of court requiring corroboration.
Asman?
I concede.
AG?
I concede, Madam Chair.
Imat? I put a question that clause 10 be deleted as proposed. Those in favor said, and the contrary, the ayes have it.
Clause 11.